All right, and welcome to this special edition of the Kickstart. Yes, that's right. This was actually recorded yesterday. But get ready, we got some great stories for you. Hope to see you at Benefits Pro for you folks that are going to be there. I am on my way there right now. We're going to do our countdown, and then we'll get started. All right, and welcome to the Kickstart. It is the 29th of April. This month is almost gone. I am currently, while you're watching this, I am either on my way or have landed in Denver for Benefits Pro. We have got some exciting stories for you today. I didn't want you to miss out on this week. So don't forget that typically you can put your questions or comments in while the show's going on, and we will address them. But this time, put those comments or questions in there, and we'll get back to you with whatever answers that we may need to give for whatever you may have questions about. Also, if you have some comments, we still would love for you to put those out there. So appreciate everyone being here and listening in today. All right, we're going to jump right into this thing. It is so funny how this just week by week, all of this just keeps on transpiring. We have a story one week about something, and then the next week there's a story that leads to the next story. We started a few weeks ago with Wegovy, and that it had been approved to be offered through Medicare. Of course, we've been talking about GLP-1s for weeks now, even months now. And the interesting thing about it is then there was this study that came out last week saying, hey, they can make these drugs for $5 and still make a profit. Well, apparently we're not the only ones that can read. The U.S. Senate can read as well. So a U.S. Senate committee is now investigating the pricing of Ozempic and Wegovy. So the Senate committee announced on Wednesday it's launched an investigation into the prices of Novo Nordisk drugs Ozempic and Wegovy in the United States. The Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, which is led by Bernie Sanders, sent a letter over to Novo Nordisk CEO seeking more information on the U.S. prices for the two medications, because you see each of these is considerably more expensive in the U.S. and other countries, and they're asking, hey, what's going on? What's the deal with this? The committee also asked if they're going to substantially reduce the price. Hey, are you going to cut these down? We're seeing this report saying that they should be less. Why aren't they less? And they want to make sure that the list price and, of course, the net price of those medications is brought down. So that's what they're asking in this letter. I also thought that one of the other questions they asked was pretty daggum interesting, because I've wondered this myself. I'm sure many of you have. And that is why the company actually charges a higher price for the weight loss drug Wegovy than they do for Ozempic, since they're basically the same compound. I think that's a rather interesting question, and it's pretty substantial difference too, $300-400, depending on where you're looking at it, as much as $500 difference for Wegovy versus Ozempic. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. My guess is absolutely nothing, because when you're waiting on the government to get something done, nothing ever happens. But it is kind of funny to watch this trail of these things as they have occurred. And, we'll see what happens in the long run, but I wouldn't hold your breath on any of this. I just think it's kind of interesting, the route this is taken. So we're staying with medications, and here we are talking about how are you going to save money again? But biosimilars, biosimilars have been out there for a little while now. Of course, the one that potentially has the most savings that can be out there is because of the high cost of Humira. So will biosimilars end up saving the healthcare system billions of dollars? Well, it kind of is already, but let's talk about a little bit of what it's not doing. Brought to the forefront here recently by Cost Plus Drug CEO Mark Cuban, he pointed out that self-insured businesses could actually save over $70,000 per employee annually just by getting their workers to switch from Humira to a lower cost biosimilar called Usimry. Now, I'm probably saying that wrong. So anyone who is in the PBM space, you can laugh at me. That's okay. But the difference is pretty big. Humira has a list price of about $7,000 a month. But that is the actual cost of a whole year of Usimry. So think about that. $7,000 a month versus $7,000 a year. That is a pretty big deal. So it's been since last year that Humira lost their exclusivity on this, and there's about 9 copycats that are basically identical out there, including this Usimry. But they're all available. They're on the shelves. But Humira still has a 96% market as of February. So even though these others are significantly less expensive, Humira has retained a huge market share. So why is that? Anyone want to guess? Can you say PBM? Well, why would PBMs have any effect on this? Well, for those of you who don't know, PBMs, like a lot of other parts of the healthcare system, we'll not get into right this second, but PBMs have an incentive to select the highest priced drugs for their formularies, even when there's cheaper alternatives existing. Okay, that's because they're actually compensated according to how much in the way of rebates and fees they can attract from drug makers. So the higher amount that the drug is, the bigger that their fees and rebates can be. Not surprising then they would want the higher cost medication. Doesn't have anything to do with helping the patient, right? But then they can still make all these claims that they're saving you money. Because technically, I guess you can say they can using their math. But interestingly enough, an analysis by Pacific Research Institute's Wayne Weingarten found that the biosimilar competition already saves the health system about $11 billion annually. That's pretty daggone good. What would that savings be if true competition was actually allowed? What if the PBMs, kind of like what Mark Cuban's talking about, what if they accepted more of these biosimilars into the formulary and offered those to patients? That savings could be fairly dramatic. So that's just something also to keep in mind when you're building health plans and when you're working with the folks out there that are really looking to help clients. There's a plethora of PBMs out there that are good guys now. There's a lot of them out there. You don't have to choose the big ones that are in it for themselves and not in it for the patient. So just something to keep in mind as you are, whether you're an employer or you're an advisor or wherever you serve in this. You got to remember that this is a big fight that we have right now, is getting the right product out there for the employer so that they can make good decisions. All right. Speaking of someone that is making a good decision, this is my favorite story of this week because it's ballsy, man. I love it. All right. The International Union of Operating Engineers is suing everybody. I mean, everybody, man. So the health fund for this group is suing. Get ready. This is a great list. Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, Sanofi Aventis, Evernorth Health, Express Scripts, Medco Health Solutions, ESI Mail Pharmacy Service, Express Scripts Pharmacy, CVS Health Corp, CVS Pharmacy, Caremark RX, Caremark PCS Health, United Health Group, Optum RX, and Optum Insight for drastically increasing the price of life-saving meds for illicit products. Boy, I love that. According to the lawsuit, the cost of diabetes medications has skyrocketed over the past 20 years, not because of rising cost of goods, production costs, investment, research, and development, or competitive market forces, but because the defendants have worked together to increase the price for a higher profit, the complaint alleged. The lawsuit, which was filed in Connecticut federal court, claims the defendants violated the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, or the RICO Act, and the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act, and committed civil conspiracy while benefiting from unjust enrichment. The complaint also claimed that the manufacturer defendants have, in tandem, increased the prices of their insulins up to 1,000%, taking the same increase down to the decimal point within a few days of one another. And according to the U.S. Senate Finance Committee investigation, sometimes mirroring each other within days or even hours. Whew. Let's sue them all. We don't know who is at fault, but let's sue everybody and just figure it out later. I love it. I love it. Now, the problem with this is not the first attempt at this. This is not the first challenge, even for just insulin pricing. And really, this is what this one all revolves around, is just insulin. They're not going after anything else. This is just insulin. However, the two most recent attempts, which were just within the last year, one of them actually was denied in February. They were both denied or dismissed by the judge in those respective cases. So don't know where this is going to go. Don't know what the development of this is going to look like, but we'll certainly keep you updated on what's going on. But regardless of what the outcome is, kudos to the internet, to the health plan or the health fund for the International Union of Operating Engineers for at least putting this out there, for at least once again getting the headline out there that these guys are all acting in tandem. Come on, we know they are. They know they are. We just have to prove it some way. But there's an easy way around this. Stop using those big guys. You don't have to. There's other options out there, just like we talked about a minute ago. There's other ways to skin this cat, as it were. So I love this story. I don't have a lot of hope that this is that there's something big's going to happen from it, but I think it is pretty awesome that they went out there and they did this. All right, last story for the day. A lot of you probably saw this information. I'm going to take a little bit different spin on it. I read a pretty interesting report in Becker's Payer Issues. And the report I'm talking about is the 2023, what the CEOs are making for the large BUCAs, for the large insurance companies. But Becker's took it another step, and they said, hey, let's compare what the CEOs make to what an average employer makes. So the ratio, what's the ratio of CEO to worker pay for the 7 largest health insurance companies in 2023? Results are about what you'd expect. The biggest disparity was at CVS. So the CEO to payer ratio there is 392 to 1, with CEO compensation of 21.6 million and annual compensation for the average employee at 55,237. Coming in next is one of the Blues at Elevance, with their CEO at a 389 to 1 ratio, so just under, with a 21.9 million CEO compensation and a 56,229 worker compensation. Third on the list is my favorite whooping boy, United Healthcare. Annual compensation for the CEO, 23.5, and compensation for the employee, 66.82. Cigna next at a 280 to 1 ratio, 21 million versus 75, 191. Then Molina Health at 21.5 versus 78,620. Centene at 18.6 million versus 79,507. Hey, some of these guys are not doing too bad with your average employee. And Humana rounds out the list with a 192 to 1 ratio. That seems really high until you look at the other ones, right? CEO compensation of 16.3, but the average employee, 85,122. So not too bad, really being that. If that's the average, there's people making a whole lot more than that as well. So I thought that was a pretty interesting comparison that Becker's did, because it's not just a list of what they're making, which is crazy anyway, right? All the way from 16 up to what was it, 20, basically 21 plus, 21.5 million. So no one there is hurting for sure, but I did think it was an interesting comparison to look at what the average employee was making as well. Well, once again, a little bit shorter version today because we know we're not going to have any comments since we are recording today's episode. If you happen to be around at the Benefits Pro conference, please look me up. Love to visit with you in person. Appreciate everyone being here each and every week and keeping up to date on what's going on in our industry. And also appreciate everyone that came last week to our super fun Why Does Healthcare Suck? That was a lot of fun talking about our lingo in our industry. If you missed out on that, you can certainly find it as a recording out on LinkedIn, Twitter. Well, I guess it's now the X, right? Whatever that thing is. You also can find it on YouTube. Recording is there. And of course on Instagram. And I believe that there's a copy on Facebook now as well. So if you missed out on it, go listen to it. It was a lot of fun. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week on the Kickstart. Thanks for being here. Everyone have a blessed week.